What if I told you that one of the most important places in the history of Indonesia is also one of its most overlooked? A land where faith transformed an island, a kingdom that changed the destiny of millions, a city where every ancient pillar, every whispering breeze, and every sacred prayer still echoes through more than 5 centuries of history. This is not merely another destination on the map. This is Demak, a place where history is not locked inside museums. History is alive. It breathes through its mosques. It walks through its streets. It speaks through its people. And once you understand the extraordinary story hidden here, you will never look at Indonesia the same way again. Before towering skyscrapers defined modern Indonesia, before highways connected the islands, before Indonesia even existed as a nation, there was a kingdom rising from the northern coast of Java, a kingdom whose influence would reshape the spiritual, political, and cultural future of an entire archipelago. Welcome to Demak. Located in central Java, Demak may appear peaceful today. Green rice fields stretch toward the horizon. Traditional villages preserve generations of wisdom. Gentle coastal winds carry the scent of the Java Sea. Life moves with remarkable calm. Yet beneath this tranquil landscape lies one of Southeast Asia's greatest historical treasures. To truly understand Demak, we must travel back more than 500 years. The late 15th century was a period of enormous transformation. Powerful Hindu and Buddhist kingdoms that had dominated Java for centuries were beginning to decline. New trading routes connected Indonesia with merchants from Arabia, Persia, India, and China. Along with spices, silk, ceramics, and precious metals came something even more powerful: ideas, beliefs, knowledge. Islam gradually spread across the Indonesian archipelago through peaceful trade, scholarship, diplomacy, and cultural exchange. Rather than replacing local traditions overnight, it blended with existing customs, creating a unique Indonesian identity that still exists today. At the center of this remarkable transformation stood Demak. The Demak Sultanate emerged during the late 15th century and is widely recognized as the first major Islamic kingdom on the island of Java. Its rise marked one of the most significant turning points in Indonesian history. Demak was more than a political power. It became a center of education, a center of commerce, a center of diplomacy, and perhaps most importantly, a center of faith. From this kingdom, Islamic teachings spread across Java through wisdom, dialogue, education, and compassion. The kingdom's influence extended far beyond its borders. Its leaders built alliances with neighboring regions. Its scholars educated future generations. Its merchants connected Indonesia with the wider world. Its legacy continues to shape Indonesian society even today. But no story about Demak can be told without mentioning one extraordinary monument. Standing proudly in the heart of the town is one of Indonesia's greatest historical landmarks, the Great Mosque of Demak. More than just an architectural masterpiece, this mosque represents one of the most important symbols of Indonesia's religious and cultural history. Built during the era of the Demak Sultanate, it remains one of the oldest surviving mosques in the country. Every beam, every pillar, every carved wooden panel tells a story. Unlike many Middle Eastern mosques, the Great Mosque of Demak reflects the beauty of Javanese architectural traditions. Its distinctive multi-layered roof rises elegantly toward the sky, without the large domes commonly associated with Islamic architecture elsewhere. This design demonstrates something remarkable. Islam did not erase local culture. Instead, it embraced it. The mosque stands as a living example of cultural harmony, a place where local craftsmanship and Islamic spirituality became one. Legend tells us that the mosque was built with the guidance of the revered Wali Songo, the 9 saints who played an essential role in spreading Islam across Java. Among its most famous features is the legendary wooden pillar known as the Soko Tuttle. According to tradition, It was created from carefully assembled pieces of wood by Sunan Kalijaga, symbolizing unity through diversity. Whether viewed historically or spiritually, the message remains timeless. Greatness is often built not from perfection, but from cooperation. Walking into the mosque today feels like stepping across centuries. Soft light filters through ancient wooden structures. The scent of aged timber fills the air. The peaceful rhythm of prayer reminds visitors that some places never lose their soul. Thousands of pilgrims and travelers continue to visit every year, not simply to admire history, but to experience it. Just steps away from the Great Mosque lies another chapter of Demak's extraordinary past, the royal cemetery of the Demak Sultans. Here rest the rulers whose leadership transformed the course of Javanese history. These sacred grounds are not monuments to power alone. They are reminders that every great civilization is built upon vision, courage, sacrifice, and responsibility. Visitors walk respectfully through shaded pathways lined with centuries-old trees. Silence fills the air. History feels close enough to touch. Many Indonesians visit not only to honor their ancestors, but also to reflect upon the values that built a nation long before independence: leadership, faith, service, humility. These are the principles that continue to resonate through these sacred grounds. Not far from the mosque stands another fascinating historical site, the former royal palace known as Keraton Krapyak. Although time has claimed much of the original structure, the remaining site still offers valuable insights into the political and cultural life of the Demak Sultanate. Here, rulers discuss diplomacy, military strategy, trade, religion, and the future of their kingdom. Artifacts and historical remains help visitors imagine what royal life may have looked like centuries ago. Every stone carries memory, every foundation whispers forgotten stories. Yet Demak is not only about ancient buildings, it is also about living culture that continues to thrive in everyday life. Traditional Javanese performing arts remain an important part of community celebrations. Wayang Kulit, the world-famous shadow puppet theatre, continues to entertain while teaching moral lessons that have endured for generations. Behind every puppet lies philosophy. Behind every performance lies wisdom. The stories often explore courage, justice, loyalty, compassion, and the eternal struggle between good and evil. Music accompanies these performances through the hypnotic sounds of the gamelan orchestra. Its rich bronze melodies create an atmosphere unlike anywhere else on earth. Traditional Javanese dance also flourishes in Demak. Graceful movements tell stories without words. Every gesture carries symbolic meaning. Every step reflects centuries of artistic refinement. These performances remind audiences that culture is not something preserved behind glass. Culture lives through people. It survives through participation. It grows through sharing. And nowhere is that spirit more visible than in the warmth of Demak's communities. Visitors are often struck by the kindness of local residents. Conversations begin with smiles. Stories are shared generously. Hospitality comes naturally. Many families proudly pass down tales of their ancestors, preserving memories that textbooks alone could never capture. This deep connection between history and daily life makes Demak unlike many destinations around the world. History is not distant here, it is personal. Of course, no journey through Demak would be complete without experiencing its local cuisine. Traditional Javanese flavors dominate the dining table. Fresh seafood reflects the region's coastal heritage. Fragrant spices blend with coconut, palm sugar, herbs, and locally grown ingredients. Meals are prepared with patience, served with generosity, shared with family. Food here is more than nourishment. It is tradition. It is identity. It is another language through which Demak tells its story. Beyond its historical landmarks, Demak also offers peaceful, natural landscapes. Rice fields shimmer beneath golden sunsets. Quiet rivers weave through fertile countryside. Mangrove forests protect coastal ecosystems while providing habitats for countless species. The rhythm of nature remains deeply connected to everyday life. Farming and fishing continue to support local communities just as they have for generations. This balance between human civilization and nature creates a sense of harmony rarely found in today's fast-moving world. As the sun begins to set over Demak, something remarkable happens. The call to prayer rises gently across the town. Golden light illuminates the ancient roof of the Great Mosque. Birds return to their nests. The streets slow down. For a brief moment, centuries seem to disappear. The past and the present become one. You realize that Demak is not frozen in history. It continues to evolve, yet it never forgets where it came from. Perhaps that is why Demak leaves such a lasting impression. It teaches us that true greatness is not measured by towering buildings or global fame. It is measured by legacy, by values passed from one generation to the next, by communities that preserve wisdom while embracing the future. The story of Demak reminds us that civilizations rise not only through military power or economic wealth. They rise through education, faith, tolerance, culture, cooperation, and an unwavering commitment to serving others. Long before Indonesia became the world's largest archipelagic nation, long before millions would call this country home, the seeds of unity were already being planted here. Demak helped shape an identity that continues to inspire more than 280 million people today. Its influence extends beyond religion, beyond politics, beyond architecture. It represents resilience, adaptation, harmony, and hope. So the next time someone speaks about Indonesia's greatest destinations, remember that some of its most extraordinary treasures are not always the loudest. Some whisper through ancient wooden pillars. Some shine through centuries of devotion. Some survive because generations refused to let their stories disappear. Demak is one of those places. It is more than a destination, more than a historical landmark, more than a beautiful corner of Central Java. It is the birthplace of a transformation that forever changed the course of Indonesian history. And perhaps the greatest lesson Demak offers the modern world is beautifully simple. Civilizations endure when they build bridges instead of walls, when they honor tradition while welcoming change, when faith inspires compassion instead of division, when culture becomes a force that unites rather than separates. That is the enduring legacy of Demak, a legacy carved into ancient wood, written into history, carried by every prayer, protected by every generation, waiting patiently for the world to finally discover one of Indonesia's greatest untold stories. There is something deeply moving about standing in a place where history was not simply witnessed, but created. Every step through Demak feels like walking across the pages of a living book. A book whose chapters were written not with ink, but with courage, conviction, wisdom, and an unshakable belief that ideas can shape civilizations. Many travelers arrive expecting to see an old mosque, an ancient kingdom, a few historical monuments, but they leave carrying something far greater: perspective. Because Demak is one of those rare places that quietly changes the way you see the world. History often celebrates powerful empires because of the wars they fought, the territories they conquered, or the wealth they accumulated. But Demak reminds us that some of history's greatest revolutions happened without armies marching across continents. They happened through conversations, through education, through compassion, through merchants who carried both goods and knowledge. through scholars who taught with patience instead of force, through communities that embrace change while preserving the beauty of their own traditions. That balance became one of Demak's greatest strengths. Rather than rejecting local culture, Islamic teachings found harmony within Javanese traditions. Architecture evolved instead of disappearing. Art continued to flourish. Language adapted. Music survived. Ceremonies transformed. This remarkable cultural fusion created an identity unlike anywhere else on Earth. It became distinctly Indonesian. That harmony is still visible today. Walk through Demak and you will notice intricate wood carvings decorating historic buildings. Many of these artistic traditions date back hundreds of years. The floral patterns, the geometric designs, the symbolic ornaments, each one reflects extraordinary craftsmanship handed down across generations. These are not simply decorations, they are stories carved into wood. Stories about belief, nature, community, and humanity's endless search for meaning. Look closely inside the Great Mosque of Demak, and you begin to appreciate how advanced the builders truly were. Constructed centuries before modern engineering equipment existed, the structure has endured earthquakes, changing climates, political upheavals, colonial rule, and the passage of time itself. Its survival is a testament not only to architectural brilliance, but also to the dedication of countless generations who have carefully preserved it. Every restoration has been carried out with respect for its historical significance. Every repaired beam protects another piece of Indonesia's collective memory. The mosque has become far more than a place of worship. It serves as a symbol of national heritage. Students visit to learn history. Architects study its remarkable design. Historians continue researching its origins. Pilgrims arrive seeking spiritual reflection. Photographers capture its timeless beauty. Visitors from every background find something meaningful within its walls. That is the extraordinary power of places built with purpose. Their influence reaches far beyond their original intention. One of the most fascinating aspects of Demak's history is its strategic location. Situated along important maritime trade routes, Demak became a meeting point for cultures from across Asia and beyond. Ships carrying spices, textiles, ceramics, precious metals, and countless other goods frequently arrived along the northern coast of Java. These voyages connected Demak with merchants from China, India, the Arabian Peninsula, Persia, the Malay world, and many other regions. Trade was never only about commerce, it was also about exchanging ideas, scientific knowledge, languages, religious beliefs, artistic inspiration, technological innovations. This constant interaction helped transform Demak into one of the most dynamic cultural centers of its era. Its ports welcomed diversity, its markets reflected international influence, its people learned from visitors while proudly preserving their own identity. Long before globalization became a modern concept, Demak was already experiencing it. Yet despite these international connections, local traditions remained remarkably strong. Farmers continued cultivating fertile rice fields. Fishermen ventured into the Java Sea before sunrise. Artisans perfected woodworking techniques. Families preserved oral histories that still survive today. This balance between openness and tradition became one of Demak's defining characteristics. Modern societies often struggle to protect cultural identity while embracing progress. Demak demonstrated centuries ago that both can exist together. Perhaps that is one reason its story continues to inspire historians around the world. Another remarkable feature of Demak lies in its relationship with education. Religious scholars established learning centers where students studied not only theology, but also ethics, philosophy, literature, governance, and practical knowledge. Education became one of the kingdom's most valuable investments. Knowledge was viewed as a responsibility rather than a privilege. Teachers devoted themselves to developing future generations. Students traveled great distances to learn from respected scholars. Ideas spread naturally from village to village, generation to generation. The impact of those educational traditions can still be felt today. Many communities across Central Java continue valuing lifelong learning, mutual respect, and social responsibility. These principles did not appear overnight. They evolved through centuries of shared experience. Walking through Demak today also reveals something beautifully simple. Life here moves differently. The rhythm is slower. People still greet one another warmly. Neighbors know each other's names. Markets remain vibrant gathering places rather than anonymous shopping centers. Children play outdoors beneath wide tropical skies. Elders share stories that no textbook has ever recorded. These everyday moments may seem ordinary, yet they preserve something increasingly rare in the modern world: human connection. Perhaps that is why visitors often remember the people of Demak even more vividly than its monuments. Hospitality here feels genuine, not because tourism requires it, but because kindness has always been woven into the fabric of local life. Every conversation becomes an opportunity to learn. Every smile becomes part of the journey. Every shared meal becomes another chapter in an unforgettable experience. As evening approaches, the atmosphere changes once again. Golden sunlight washes across ancient brick walls. The call to prayer echoes gently through the surrounding neighborhoods. Birdsong gradually gives way to peaceful silence. The Great Mosque stands gracefully against the fading sky, just as it has for centuries. Countless generations have witnessed this same sunset. Kings, scholars, merchants, farmers, travelers, children, families, each one leaving behind memories that became part of Demak's remarkable story. And now, perhaps, another visitor joins that endless procession, not simply to admire history, but to become connected with it. Because the greatest destinations do more than entertain. They transform us. They remind us where we came from. They challenge us to think differently. They inspire us to protect the heritage entrusted to our generation. Demak does exactly that. Its story is not finished. It continues every single day through the people who preserve its traditions, protect its historical treasures, and proudly share its legacy with the world. That is why Demak deserves far more than a brief stop on a travel itinerary. It deserves to be understood, to be appreciated, and above all, to be remembered. If these ancient walls could speak, they would tell stories that no history book could ever fully capture. They would speak of hopeful young students arriving from distant villages, carrying little more than curiosity and determination. They would tell of respected scholars spending countless nights teaching beneath the soft glow of oil lamps, believing that knowledge was one of humanity's greatest gifts. They would remember merchants whose ships crossed dangerous seas, connecting kingdoms separated by thousands of miles of ocean. They would recall prayers offered during times of peace and prayers whispered during times of uncertainty. Through every triumph and every challenge, Demak endured. That endurance is one of its greatest miracles. History is never guaranteed to survive. Across the world, magnificent kingdoms have vanished without leaving more than scattered ruins. Languages have disappeared, traditions have been forgotten, entire civilizations have faded into silence. Yet Demak refused to disappear. Its legacy survived political change, colonial occupation, natural disasters, economic transformation, modernization, and the relentless passage of time. Generation after generation chose preservation over neglect, memory over forgetting, responsibility over convenience. That choice has given today's world an extraordinary gift, the opportunity to stand where history truly happened. There is a profound lesson hidden within Demak's journey. Great civilizations are not remembered because they were perfect. They are remembered because they contributed something meaningful to humanity. Demak contributed unity. It demonstrated that faith could spread through wisdom rather than fear, that leadership could be grounded in service, that cultural diversity could become a source of strength instead of conflict. These lessons remain remarkably relevant in today's interconnected world. Modern societies continue searching for ways to balance tradition with innovation, local identity with global influence, economic progress with cultural preservation. Demak faced many of these same questions centuries ago. Its answers still resonate today. One cannot fully appreciate Demak without understanding the extraordinary role played by ordinary people. History often remembers kings, but kingdoms are built by communities, by craftsmen whose names were never recorded, by builders who shaped massive wooden beams with simple hand tools, by farmers whose harvests fed growing cities, by fishermen who provided food for coastal settlements, by mothers and fathers who taught values that outlived generations, by children who carried those traditions into the future. Their stories may not appear in royal chronicles, yet without them, there would have been no kingdom, no mosque, no thriving community, no enduring legacy. Perhaps that is what makes Demak feel so authentic. It celebrates both remarkable leaders and everyday people. It reminds us that history belongs to everyone. As you wander through its historic streets, you begin noticing details that many visitors overlook. The weathered texture of centuries-old bricks, the delicate patterns carved into ancient doors, the quiet courtyards where conversations have unfolded for hundreds of years, the towering trees whose roots have witnessed more history than any living person. Even the gentle breeze seems to carry echoes from another age. There is a peaceful confidence about Demak. It does not compete for attention. It does not rely on dazzling lights or towering skyscrapers. It simply exists with quiet dignity, allowing its history to speak for itself. And somehow, that makes its story even more powerful. In an age where destinations often compete to become the next viral sensation, Demak offers something infinitely more valuable: authenticity. Nothing here feels manufactured. Nothing feels artificial. Its beauty comes from truth, from continuity, from generations of people who understood that heritage is not inherited automatically. It must be protected, it must be respected, and it must be shared. This responsibility now belongs to all of us. Every visitor who walks respectfully through these sacred places becomes part of that preservation. Every photograph shared with appreciation helps introduce another person to its remarkable story. Every conversation about Demak ensures that its legacy continues, reaching new generations around the world. Travel has always been about more than seeing beautiful places. The greatest journeys change the traveler. They expand our understanding. They challenge our assumptions. They remind us that humanity's greatest achievements are often built upon cooperation rather than competition. Demak embodies that truth. It shows us that one kingdom, guided by vision and faith, could influence the cultural identity of an entire island. That one mosque could inspire millions across centuries. That one community could preserve traditions strong enough to survive half a millennium. Imagine the countless footsteps that have crossed the courtyard of the Great Mosque. Sultans preparing for important decisions, scholars deep in thoughtful discussion, children laughing as they followed their parents, pilgrims arriving with hopeful hearts.